The morning sky over Earth was clear and calm, but something was about to shake the world in a way no one expected. It began with an unusual event that left everyone questioning what was happening. A sleek, silver spacecraft appeared over a major city, hovering silently in the air. No one had seen anything like it before. This was not a weather balloon, nor was it a military craft. The people below stared in awe, fear, and confusion. This was an alien ship, and it had arrived in the most unexpected of ways. For days, the news channels were filled with speculation. Scientists and military experts scrambled to understand the technology behind the spacecraft, but no one could explain how it worked. It was as though it defied the laws of physics. Governments from around the world watched in tense silence. Everyone wondered, what did the visitors want? Were they here for peaceful contact, or were they preparing for something much worse? The world's leaders met quickly. A special summit was called at the United Nations headquarters. The Security Council convened with the highest-ranking officials from all countries, including military leaders, diplomats, and scientists. No one knew what was going to happen next, but they had to be ready. The questions were endless. Why had they come? And more importantly, who would speak with them? As the summit continued late into the night, the world watched in anticipation. Then suddenly, a message came through. It was broadcasted globally, a voice unlike anything heard before. It was deep yet melodic, and it carried an air of authority. To the people of Earth, the voice began, "I am an emissary of the sovereign empire of Rael. I bring an important message from the princess of Rael, and heir to our great empire." The room fell silent. The message was clear. An alien princess, an actual ruler of another world, wanted something from Earth. The mystery only deepened. The voice continued, "The princess of Rael, in her wisdom, has chosen Earth as the planet from which she wishes to find a fiancé. She has decreed that a human shall be selected, not only as a partner, but as a vital ally for the future of both our civilizations. The princess's desire is simple. She wishes to meet the chosen human. You have 10 days to present your candidate." The message ended as quickly as it had started, leaving the room in complete shock. What did this mean? Why would an alien princess want a human fiancé? And how could anyone possibly prepare for such a request? The world was left with more questions than answers, and there was no one who could explain the situation. Within minutes of the message, debates erupted. Politicians, military leaders, and world diplomats argued over how best to respond. Some feared that this was a trap, a way for the aliens to manipulate Earth into submission. Others believed it was an opportunity to form an alliance with a powerful alien race. But the one thing everyone agreed on was this: whoever was chosen to represent humanity in this matter would need to be someone special. It wasn't long before the media and governments began discussing who could be the right choice. The world's leaders needed someone who could not only represent humanity, but also handle the responsibility of meeting an alien princess face to face. It was a monumental decision that would affect the course of history. Among the many who were discussed, one name quickly rose to the top: Alex Carter. He was a young diplomat who had earned the respect of his peers through his calm demeanor, quick thinking, and ability to navigate difficult situations. Despite his youth, Alex had already served as a key negotiator for several high-profile international agreements. He was well liked by his colleagues and seen as someone who could handle delicate situations with tact. Alex had always dreamed of making a real difference in the world, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. He never thought he'd be the one to represent humanity in an intergalactic meeting. As the call came to him, his heart raced with uncertainty. He was told that the task was his, but it was also made clear that there was no turning back. This was an opportunity that could shape the future of humanity, and it was his responsibility to make the right impression. Though Alex had trained for many diplomatic missions, he had never faced a situation as strange as this. His thoughts were filled with questions. What kind of alien was the princess? What would she be like? What did she want from Earth? And most importantly, Why a human fiancé? As Alex packed his things for the journey ahead, he couldn't help but wonder how he would be received on the princess's home planet. He had read reports of their technology, which was far ahead of Earth's, and he knew that nothing would be simple about this mission. Yet it was clear that the princess wasn't asking for something as trivial as a regular human suitor. She needed someone who could understand the importance of this moment, someone who could represent all of humanity in a marriage with an alien ruler. When the day arrived for Alex to depart, he found himself standing in front of a sleek spacecraft that would take him to the princess's world. His heart was pounding, his mind racing with all the unknowns that lay ahead. As he boarded the ship, he took one last look at Earth from the window, wondering if this moment would truly be the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. What would it be like to meet a young alien princess? Alex could only imagine. Alex Carter had never imagined his life would change so drastically. Just days after receiving the message from the alien princess, he found himself boarding a sleek silver spacecraft designed for intergalactic travel. It was far different from any plane he had ever flown on. The walls inside shimmered with strange, glowing symbols, and the air was cool, almost refreshing, as if the ship was alive, breathing with an energy all its own. As the ship lifted off from Earth's atmosphere, Alex stared out the window, watching his home planet grow smaller and smaller until it was just a blue dot in the vast expanse of space. The thought that he was about to meet an alien princess from another galaxy seemed almost unreal. He had prepared for important meetings in the past, but this was something entirely new, something beyond any human experience. The journey was long, but the ship's advanced technology made the trip feel almost effortless. Inside, the ship was quiet, and Alex spent much of his time thinking. How would he handle this encounter? What kind of person was this princess, the one who demanded a human fiancé? His mind swirled with possibilities, but there was no clear answer. The brief information shared by the alien emissary hadn't given him much to go on. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ship entered the orbit of the alien planet. The planet was a striking sight, lush, with vast fields of green and towering mountains that seemed to touch the sky. The city that Alex was approaching was unlike any he had ever seen, a breathtaking blend of ancient architecture and futuristic technology. Tall spires reached toward the heavens, and enormous, floating platforms moved gracefully through the air, carrying people from place to place. The ship descended slowly, landing in a large open area that seemed to serve as a landing zone for alien visitors. As the hatch opened, Alex felt a wave of anticipation and nervousness rush over him. He had read about intergalactic diplomacy, studied alien cultures, and prepared himself for every scenario. But none of his preparation had fully prepared him for what lay ahead. Standing at the edge of the landing zone were several alien figures, tall and elegant, their appearance unlike anything Alex had ever seen. Their skin was a smooth, shimmering silver, and their eyes glowed faintly with an ethereal light. They wore robes of rich, intricate designs, and their presence exuded an air of authority and wisdom. Among them, one figure stood out, the young princess. She was unlike any person Alex had ever seen. She was tall and regal with long, flowing hair that shimmered like liquid gold. Her features were delicate yet sharp, giving her an otherworldly beauty. But it wasn't just her appearance that caught Alex's attention. It was the way she carried herself. Her posture was confident, commanding, yet there was a certain curiosity in her gaze as she looked at him. It was as if she were studying him, trying to understand the human before her. The princess spoke first, her voice calm and graceful, yet with a hint of power behind every word. "Welcome, human representative," she said. "I trust your journey was not too difficult." Alex bowed respectfully, trying to hide the nervousness he felt. "Thank you, Your Highness. The journey was smooth, considering the circumstances." The princess smiled, though it seemed almost knowing, as if she already understood what he was thinking. "You must be wondering why I chose you," she said. "Why a human? Why now?" Alex nodded, unable to hide his curiosity. I am, Your Highness. I'm honored, of course, but also confused. Why would a princess from another galaxy want a human fiancé? The princess stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. It is not a matter of personal preference, she explained. My empire is in a state of delicate balance. We need a union with your world, a partnership that will ensure our survival and your prosperity. It is not just about marriage. It is about forming an alliance, one that will bring peace and strength to both our people. Alex listened carefully, trying to absorb her words. She was beautiful, powerful, and intelligent, but there was something more in her voice, something deeper. She wasn't just seeking a partner for political reasons. There was a real weight to her words, a sense of responsibility that seemed to burden her. She wasn't a typical ruler who made decisions from a place of personal desire. Instead, she carried the weight of an entire empire on her shoulders. What do you need from me, then? Alex asked, his voice steady despite the growing tension inside him. What kind of person are you looking for? The princess's gaze softened just a little, but the seriousness remained. I need someone who understands the importance of this moment, someone who is strong enough to navigate the challenges of our union. Your people have survived much, and I admire that. I seek someone who can stand beside me, who will not just be a figurehead, but a true partner in all things. You will be tested, human representative. It will not be easy. Alex could feel the weight of her words settling in. This wasn't just about a simple engagement or marriage. It was about an alliance that could change the course of history. The princess wasn't just seeking the human fiancé for personal reasons. She needed someone who could represent Earth in this unprecedented union. I understand, Your Highness, Alex said, his voice more resolute now. I will do whatever is necessary to honor this partnership. But may I ask, why me? The princess's lips curled into a small smile, almost like a secret she was willing to share. I see something in you, Alex Carter. You are a diplomat, yes, but there is more. You are resourceful, and you have the strength of character I need. I have studied your world, your people, and I believe you are the one who can help guide this union to its true potential. Alex's heart raced, but he kept his composure. This was just the beginning. What lay ahead would be unlike anything he had ever experienced. The princess motioned toward a path leading to a grand palace in the distance. Come, she said, the journey has just begun. Alex followed the princess as she led him through the grand palace. The architecture was nothing like anything he had seen on Earth. Tall, sweeping arches of glowing crystal that seemed to pulse with energy, wide corridors adorned with murals of alien history and stories, and gardens filled with plants that shimmered as if they were made of light. Everything felt so otherworldly. The princess walked ahead, her steps graceful and deliberate. Her silver robes flowed behind her like liquid, reflecting the soft glow of the palace's lighting. Alex, on the other hand, felt like a visitor in a foreign world. Every step he took echoed slightly, as if the palace itself was observing him. Finally, they reached a large chamber at the heart of the palace, where a group of high-ranking alien officials stood. They were dressed in similar robes, their faces serious as they looked at Alex with curiosity. It was clear that he was not the only one being scrutinized. His every move, his every word, seemed to be under close inspection. The princess turned to face him, her eyes narrowing slightly. Alex Carter, welcome to my court. You stand before the Council of Rael, my advisors who will guide our journey together. It is here that your true test begins. You have come to represent your people, but you will also need to prove yourself worthy of your place beside me. Alex nodded, trying his best to appear calm despite the weight of the situation. He had read about the importance of the trials in the ancient traditions of the Rael Empire, but he never imagined he would be the one to face them. Each trial was designed to test different qualities: strength, intellect, and most importantly, the ability to lead. He had no idea what he was about to face, but he knew it would be nothing like anything on Earth. The princess continued, her voice firm yet not unkind. You are here because I believe you have the potential to be more than just a human partner. You are not the first to be considered, but I see something in you. However, I will not make the decision lightly. The trials must be passed before you can truly stand by my side." A tall alien stepped forward, his face lined with age and wisdom. "Your Highness," he said, bowing slightly. "The trials are not easy, and they are not designed to be won through force alone. We must see the true nature of the one who would be our princess's partner. Let the first trial begin." The princess gestured for Alex to step forward. He took a deep breath and did as he was told, though he could feel the weight of their gaze upon him. The first trial would test his strength, but not in the way he expected. Instead of physical combat, it was a test of endurance and willpower. A platform rose from the ground, revealing a large, shimmering orb in the center of the room. "This," the princess explained, "is the orb of Rael. It has the ability to create illusions of the mind. It will show you your worst fears and deepest regrets. You must face them and remain strong." Alex's heart pounded. He had heard of such things before, mental illusions that played on a person's mind, trapping them in their own worst nightmares. He had never been one to shy away from a challenge, but the idea of confronting his innermost fears in front of strangers made him uneasy. Still, he couldn't back down. He had come too far, and he wasn't going to let fear defeat him. The orb began to glow, and Alex felt a strange sensation wash over him. His surroundings blurred for a moment, and then, just as quickly, they shifted. Suddenly, he found himself standing in a small, dark room. The air was thick and cold, and there was a sense of suffocating loneliness that seemed to cling to the walls. The faint sound of whispers filled the room, and Alex felt a familiar anxiety rising in his chest. He was alone. The feeling of isolation grew stronger, and Alex began to panic. His heart raced as memories of his childhood, the loneliness, the feeling of being different from everyone else, rushed back to him. It was as if he were back in those dark moments, feeling lost and helpless. The whispers grew louder, mocking him, reminding him of every mistake he had made, every failure. But Alex fought back. He knew this was an illusion. It was just his mind playing tricks on him, and he would not allow it to control him. With a deep breath, he clenched his fists and forced himself to take a step forward. He had faced loneliness before. He had grown up with it, but it had never defined him. He was stronger now. He had purpose. The room shifted again, and Alex found himself standing in a new scene. This time, he was at a desk, surrounded by papers and documents. The weight of responsibility pressed on him. He could hear the ticking of a clock, each second passing like a weight on his shoulders. His mind raced with thoughts of all the things he had to do, all the tasks he had to complete, the pressure of being the one chosen to represent humanity weighing him down. The fear of failure crept in again, but Alex knew what he had to do. He had to stay calm. He closed his eyes and focused on his breath. The pressure would always be there. He couldn't escape it, but he could manage it. He could carry the weight without letting it crush him. Slowly, the scene began to fade. The whispers, the fears, the overwhelming sense of responsibility all began to dissolve. When Alex opened his eyes, he was back in the grand chamber, standing before the princess and the council. The princess's gaze was fixed on him, her expression unreadable. "You have passed the first trial," she said. "Your strength is not just in your body, but in your mind and heart as well. You are more than just a symbol of humanity. You are someone who can face the unknown and emerge stronger." Alex nodded, trying to steady his breathing. He had done it. He had faced his fears, and he had not let them defeat him. But this was only the beginning. There were still more trials to come, and the path ahead would not be easy. The princess stepped forward, her voice softer now. "You have shown great resilience, Alex Carter, but the real test lies ahead. The next trial will test your intellect." Alex stood in the center of the grand chamber, trying to steady his nerves. The first trial had been difficult, but he had made it through. Now the princess stood before him, her eyes locked on his every move. He could feel the weight of the council's gaze upon him once again. The room was silent, but Alex could hear his heartbeat pounding in his ears. The princess spoke first. The first trial tested your strength of mind. The second trial will test your intellect. It is not enough to be strong. You must also be wise. The people of Rael value intelligence as much as they value power. Alex nodded. He knew this was coming. Intelligence was something that he had always prided himself on. He wasn't the strongest man, but he had a quick mind, and he had solved many problems in his life. He was ready for this. The princess gestured to a nearby pedestal, where a strange-looking device sat. It was a large metallic cube with strange symbols carved into it. Alex had no idea what it was, but the way it hummed with energy told him that it was important. This, the princess continued, is the puzzle of Rael. It is an ancient device that has been passed down through generations. It is said that only the most intelligent beings can solve it. Your task is simple. Solve the puzzle. You must unlock the code within 30 minutes, or you will fail. The pressure was on. Alex looked at the cube, studying its intricate patterns and glowing symbols. It didn't seem like any puzzle he had ever seen before. It was unlike anything he could have imagined. He stepped closer, reaching out to touch it, and as soon as his fingers brushed against the surface, the symbols on the cube shifted. The device seemed to come alive in his hands, and a voice boomed through the room. "Welcome, Alex Carter. To solve this puzzle, you must unlock the 5 keys hidden within the symbols. Each key represents a different trait: wisdom, logic, intuition, patience, and creativity. Only when you unlock all 5 keys will the puzzle be complete." Alex swallowed hard. This was more complicated than he thought. 5 keys, and each one represented a different trait. He had to tap into every part of his mind to figure this out. He closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. He couldn't afford to panic. This was a test of intellect, not just knowledge. He had to approach it calmly, like solving a complex problem. The symbols on the cube shimmered, and Alex's mind began to race. He could feel the weight of time pressing on him. But he forced himself to stay focused. The first key, wisdom. He remembered the words of the princess. Wisdom is something you learn over time. He thought about his own life, the lessons he had learned, the mistakes he had made, and the wisdom that came from those experiences. He needed to find the symbol that represented knowledge gained through hardship. His fingers hovered over one of the glowing symbols, a swirl that seemed to represent time. He pressed it. A soft click echoed through the room, and a new symbol appeared, glowing brighter than before. 1 key down, 4 to go. The voice from the cube echoed once again. Key 1 unlocked. Wisdom. Proceed to the next key. Alex felt a wave of relief wash over him. 1 key down, but the real challenge was just beginning. He turned his attention back to the puzzle, now focused on the second key, logic. Logic. Alex had always been good at puzzles and strategy games, so this one felt more familiar. He carefully examined the symbols again, searching for something that represented clear thinking, reasoning, and structure. His eyes narrowed as he spotted a set of symbols that seemed to follow a repeating pattern. Logic was about patterns, right? He pressed the corresponding symbol, and another soft click sounded. Key 2 unlocked. Logic. Proceed to the next key. The relief was short-lived as Alex felt the pressure mounting. 3 keys remained, and each one seemed harder than the last. He quickly moved to the next symbol. Intuition. It was a difficult concept to grasp, but Alex trusted his instincts. He'd learned over the years that his gut feelings often led him to the right answers. He focused on the symbols again, and his eyes were drawn to a symbol that looked like a spiral. The spiral seemed to represent the unknown, a place where intuition guided the way. With a deep breath, Alex pressed the symbol. Key 3 unlocked. Intuition. Proceed to the next key. Alex wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. 2 keys left: patience and creativity. These were going to be the toughest. Patience. He knew what that meant. It wasn't just about waiting. It was about understanding that things take time. The Rael people valued patience, and Alex could feel that now more than ever. He turned his gaze to the symbols, and there in the corner was one that looked like a flower in bloom. Slow, steady growth. He pressed it, and a 4th click sounded. Key 4 unlocked. Patience. Proceed to the final key. Now, only creativity remained. Alex thought back to the many times in his life when he had to think outside the box. Creativity wasn't just about artistic expression. It was about finding new solutions to old problems. He studied the last symbol carefully. It was unlike the others. A twisting shape that seemed to change with every glance. It felt abstract, unpredictable, yet elegant. He pressed the symbol, and the final click echoed through the room. Key 5 unlocked. Creativity. Puzzle complete. The cube hummed with energy, and then slowly it began to open. The device revealed a hidden compartment within, containing a glowing crystal. The princess's voice echoed through the room. "You have done it, Alex Carter. You have unlocked the 5 keys and proven your intellect." Alex stood there, breathless, but a feeling of pride filled him. He had faced the challenge and succeeded. The princess stepped forward, a rare smile playing on her lips. "You are not only strong of mind, but also of heart. The next trial awaits." Alex stood in the grand hall, his mind still buzzing from the last trial. He had completed the intellectual challenge, and now he faced the most daunting of them all, the final trial. He had no idea what to expect, but deep down, he knew this would be the toughest one yet. The princess, still as composed as ever, looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. She had been watching his progress closely, impressed by his strength and intellect. But now, it was time to see if Alex had what it took to win her favor. This trial would test not just his abilities, but his heart. "The final trial is simple," the princess announced, her voice clear and firm. "You must prove your loyalty and dedication to the people of Rael. If you can show that you understand the importance of sacrifice, then you will have earned the right to become my fiancé." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't just fighting for a chance to marry the princess. He was being asked to prove that he understood what it meant to be truly committed to the people of Rael, to sacrifice for them. This wasn't just about him. It was about a whole civilization. The weight of the task settled heavily on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "What exactly do I have to do?" he asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The princess gestured toward a large, glowing orb in the center of the room. It pulsed with an otherworldly energy, and Alex could feel its power radiating toward him. "This," she said, "is the heart of Rael. It is the source of our people's strength and energy. For centuries, it has powered our cities, provided light to our homes, and fueled our progress. But now it is in danger. The heart is dying, and unless it is recharged, all of Rael will fall into darkness." Alex's mind raced as he processed her words. The heart of Rael was the lifeblood of an entire civilization. If it failed, everything would be lost. He couldn't imagine a world without the energy it provided. But there was more. The princess's next words sent a chill down his spine. "The only way to restore the heart's power is through a ritual that requires an immense sacrifice. It demands the life force of the one who performs it. You will have to choose. Will you offer yourself to save Rael, or will you walk away and let our people fall into darkness?" Alex stared at the glowing orb, his thoughts swirling. The decision before him was not an easy one. He had only just begun to understand the world of Rael, but the people here, this alien civilization, had welcomed him. They had given him a chance, and now they needed him to give everything in return. "I don't know if I can do it," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "I've never been asked to make a sacrifice like this." The princess stepped closer to him, her eyes softening. The strength of a true leader is shown in their willingness to give everything for the greater good. If you truly want to prove your loyalty, you must make the choice. There is no right or wrong here, only the path you choose. Alex took a long, hard look at the heart of Rael. Its glow seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. He thought of the people of Rael, the culture, and the civilization that had given him a chance. They were not his people, but they had treated him with respect, and now they were asking for his help in a way that felt like a test of his very soul. His mind raced. Was he truly ready to sacrifice himself for a world he had only just begun to understand? Could he give up his future for their survival? The princess stood silently, waiting for his decision. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if the whole universe was waiting with him. Finally, Alex made up his mind. "I will do it," he said, his voice steady. "I will save Rael. I will offer myself for the heart." The princess's expression softened into something like admiration. She stepped back, and the orb's glow grew brighter. "You have made the right choice, Alex Carter. Now, prepare yourself. The ritual will begin." Alex's heart raced as the air around him seemed to hum with energy. He felt a strange, powerful force gathering around the orb, a sensation that seemed to fill every inch of his body. The heart was calling to him, and he knew that the moment had come. He stepped forward, placing his hands on the glowing surface of the orb. The energy surged through him, and he gasped as it felt like his very essence was being drawn out. It was overwhelming, the force of it. He felt himself weakening, but there was no turning back. He had made his choice, and now he had to follow through. The princess watched in silence as Alex gave himself to the ritual, his body glowing with the energy of Rael. The room around them seemed to pulse with life, the heart of Rael growing brighter with each passing second. Alex's vision began to blur, and he felt his strength leaving him. But despite the pain, he didn't regret his decision. He was saving an entire civilization, and that was worth everything. Slowly, the energy began to fade, and the heart of Rael pulsed with a steady, vibrant glow. Finally, the ritual was complete. Alex stumbled back, feeling lightheaded and weak, but alive. The princess rushed to his side, her eyes wide with awe. "You did it," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You saved us. You saved Rael." Alex smiled faintly, his strength returning little by little. "It was worth it. I would do it again in a heartbeat." Alex woke up to the soft hum of the Raelian city in the distance. The sky above him was a blend of purple and orange, casting a warm glow over the landscape. He had been unconscious for several hours after the ritual, but now he was fully awake, lying in a bed in the princess's private quarters. His body still felt strange, tired but light, as if something inside him had been both drained and renewed. The power of the heart of Rael still pulsed in his veins, reminding him of the sacrifice he had made. "You're awake." The princess's voice was gentle, and Alex turned to see her standing at the edge of his bed. Her presence was calming, but there was something new in her eyes, something more than just royalty. There was a deep respect, an admiration that had grown since the ritual. "How long have I been out?" Alex asked, his voice hoarse. "Only a few hours. Your body needed time to adjust," she replied, walking over to his side. Her gaze softened as she looked at him. "You did it, Alex. You saved us all." Alex nodded weakly. "I didn't do it alone. I had the heart of Rael to guide me." The princess smiled faintly, her eyes glinting with something like pride. "You may have had the heart's energy, but it was your strength that completed the ritual. Not many would have made the same choice. You chose to give up everything to save us, and that makes you worthy of the honor I want to bestow upon you." Alex blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" The princess sat beside him, her expression becoming serious. "You have proven your worthiness to be my fiancé, Alex, but more than that, you have proven that you understand the meaning of sacrifice and leadership. You understand what it means to give for the greater good. You have earned the right to stand by my side." not just as a protector, but as a partner in the future of Rael. A mixture of shock and disbelief washed over Alex. He had come to Rael to help, and had no idea that his journey would lead to this moment. He had never expected to become a part of the royal family. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, the princess replied, her voice soft but firm. I've made my decision, and I believe you are the one I have been waiting for. Together, we can bring Rael into a new era, a future where our people will thrive. The choice is now yours. Will you accept? Alex sat up slowly, trying to process the weight of her words. He thought of his life on Earth, of the simple things he had known. And then he thought of Rael, the beautiful, advanced world that had accepted him. He had never been one to back down from a challenge, and this was the greatest challenge yet. He looked at the princess, her eyes filled with determination and hope. He had seen that same hope in the people of Rael, and it made him realize something. This was not just about a marriage. It was about a future, a partnership that could change everything for the better. I accept, Alex said, his voice clear. I may have come here as a stranger, but I now understand what it means to stand with you and your people. Together, we can make Rael the future it deserves. The princess's smile widened, and for the first time, Alex saw a flicker of joy in her eyes. You have made me proud, Alex. You are truly the one I have chosen. But as the princess leaned in to touch his hand, there was a sudden disturbance outside the room. The door to the quarters burst open, and a member of the royal guard rushed in, his face pale with concern. Princess, there's trouble, the guard said urgently. The enemy fleet is approaching Rael. They're here, and they're preparing to attack. Alex's heart dropped. The peace of Rael had been hard-earned, and now it seemed like their enemies were determined to destroy it. He had hoped their trials were over, but it seemed the real battle was only just beginning. We must prepare, the princess said, her voice immediately shifting from warm to commanding. Alex, you're with me. This is the moment we've trained for. We will defend Rael. Alex stood quickly, his body still a little weak from the ritual, but driven by a new sense of purpose. He looked at the princess, who was already donning her battle gear. The once soft princess now looked like a fierce leader, ready to defend her people at all costs. What can I do? Alex asked, his voice filled with determination. You've proven your strength, Alex, she said, her voice steady. Now show me your courage. We need to unite the people, rally them for battle. You will help me lead Rael into this fight. The urgency of the situation hit him hard, but there was no time to waste. Alex followed the princess out of her quarters, determined to stand by her side and fight for the future of Rael. As they moved through the halls of the royal palace, Alex could hear the sounds of alarm bells ringing in the distance. The people of Rael were already preparing for battle, but the real test was about to begin. Would the strength of Rael's people be enough to overcome the enemy that was closing in on them? Stay by my side, Alex, the princess said as they reached the command center. Together, we will protect our world and our future. With those words, Alex knew that whatever came next, he would face it head-on. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for everything they had built. And he was ready. The sound of the enemy fleet drawing closer sent ripples of anxiety through Rael's capital. Alex stood beside the princess, looking out at the sprawling city below, which was already in motion, preparing for battle. In the distance, he could see the dark shadows of the enemy ships, their shapes blocking out the stars as they made their descent. The once peaceful world that had welcomed him was now on the brink of war, and the weight of that responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. We'll defend our world, the princess said, her voice steady and calm. Though Alex could sense the fire within her, she had always been a ruler, but now she was a warrior too. Alex nodded, trying to steady his own nerves. The thought of being a part of something so monumental was both terrifying and exhilarating. He had always been just a regular guy back on Earth. But now, standing side by side with the princess, he was no longer just an outsider. He was a part of something bigger. The two of them walked through the palace, heading toward the central command room. The air was thick with tension, but Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of unity with the people of Rael. They weren't just defending their planet. They were defending a way of life that Alex had come to cherish. As they entered the command room, Alex saw Rael's top military officers gathered around a holographic map of the surrounding space. The fleet was getting closer. The enemy had no intention of negotiating. They had come for war. "Princess," one of the officers said, bowing slightly, "the enemy is already in range of our defensive shields. We'll need to act fast." The princess turned her gaze to the map, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What's our plan?" she asked, her voice sharp. "We have several options," the officer replied. "We can attempt to disable their ship's engines, or we can go on the offensive and attack their weapon systems directly. The enemy is heavily armed, but their fleet is not as large as ours." Alex watched as the officers discussed their strategy, his mind racing. This was no longer about just surviving. It was about protecting the future of Rael, the people who had shown him kindness, and the woman he had come to respect. The princess turned to Alex. "What do you think?" she asked, surprising him with the question. Alex took a deep breath. This was his moment to show that he wasn't just some human from another world. He was a partner in this fight. "We need to strike first," he said firmly. "Their ships are large, but they're not invincible. If we take out their weapons and engines, we can neutralize their advantage." The princess's eyes locked with his, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she smiled. "I agree. We'll go on the offensive. Let's show them what Rael is made of." The officers around them nodded, quickly finalizing the plan. Within minutes, the order was given to launch Rael's fleet into space. Outside the palace, the great warships of Rael prepared for battle. Alex stood with the princess at the front, his heart pounding in his chest. The air was filled with the sounds of military ships powering up, and Alex could feel the anticipation in the air. This was the moment when everything would change. The battle began as the enemy fleet entered Rael's orbit. The sky above was filled with the flashes of energy beams, explosions lighting up the night. The enemy ships were fast, but Rael's fleet was faster. Alex's eyes scanned the space, and he could see the enemy ships faltering as Rael's forces hit their weapon systems. Rael's ships moved with precision, their coordinated attacks slowly taking down the enemy's defenses. It wasn't just their technology that made them strong. It was their unity, their willingness to fight for each other and their planet. Through the chaos, Alex could hear the princess's voice over the comms, commanding her fleet with skill and authority. "Hold steady, Rael," she shouted. "We will not back down." Alex could feel her determination radiating through the communication link, and it gave him strength. He knew that, together, they could win this battle. As the battle raged on, Alex found himself aboard one of Rael's ships, assisting in the coordination of defense efforts. His role was strategic. He worked with the officers to keep the ships in formation, ensuring that they could strike the enemy's weak points. His Earth experience with technology and problem-solving came in handy. It was all coming together. The battle was fierce, but Rael's forces were relentless. Slowly but surely, they began to push the enemy fleet back, their defenses breaking under the pressure. Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This was his fight, too. After hours of intense combat, the tide finally began to turn in Rael's favor. The enemy fleet was in retreat, their ships severely damaged and their weapon systems disabled. Alex stood alongside the princess as they watched the enemy ships flee into the vast expanse of space. "We did it," Alex said, his voice filled with awe. The princess turned to him, a proud smile on her face. "We did it together, Alex. You were right. Our strength lies in our unity. We've won this battle, but this is only the beginning." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of the words. This was just the first step toward ensuring Rael's future. He had come to this world as a stranger, and now he was a part of it, a part of something much bigger than himself. As the battle ended and the ships returned to the capital, Alex stood beside the princess, watching the sunset over Rael. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They had fought together and won. And as long as they stood side by side, there was no enemy that could defeat them. The princess took Alex's hand, her expression softening. "This is only the beginning, Alex. We had a long road ahead of us, but together we will create a future for Rael." Alex squeezed her hand, a smile forming on his face. "I'm ready." The future of Rael was in their hands, and together they would protect it, no matter the cost.